A revocable living trust is a contract that's created by a person called the trust maker and also signed by another person called a trustee. And the contract provides that the trustee is going to hold assets transferred into the trust for the benefit of one or more beneficiaries named in the trust agreement. So the bottom line is a trust is an agreement between two parties. Sometimes it's the same person acting as trustee and beneficiary, and that agreement provides how assets are going to be held for the benefit of the one or more people named as beneficiaries in the trust agreement. Now, there's basically two types of trusts, revocable and irrevocable. A revocable trust is a trust that can be amended, whereas an irrevocable trust, once it's signed, it's set in concrete, can't be amended except in unusual circumstances or perhaps with a court order. So most people, when they're doing estate planning, they're going to sign a revocable trust because as time passes, things are going to change in their life. So they will always need to update their revocable trust agreement so that it does exactly what they want. Sometimes people ask us, what's a will and what's a trust and how are they different? Well, a trust is a contract between the trustee, the trust maker, that provides that assets are going to be held for the benefit of a beneficiary, and it causes automatic transfer on the death of the current beneficiary or beneficiaries to the beneficiaries named as future beneficiaries. No need for probate. Whereas a will is a document that has no legal significance unless the person who created the will dies, and only then does it have legal significance if somebody asks a superior court to open a probate and probate the will. The purpose of a probate proceeding is to, number one, establish that there was a valid will, and number two, appoint somebody who has the power to deal with the assets and expenses of the deceased person, and number three, transfer assets to the heirs named in the will. So a will doesn't avoid probate. A will requires probate, and probates can be time-consuming. We do a minimum of 5 months, and they can be expensive and also public. So one of the reasons people do a trust is because they want to avoid probate and have the assets go immediately to the people named in the trust agreement as the future beneficiaries. The main benefit of a revocable living trust is it's revocable, and what I mean by that is it can be amended. Because when you create a trust, it can be perfect and does everything that you want it to do on the day you sign the trust agreement. But as time passes, things are going to change in your life. Maybe one of your successor trustees dies, or maybe you don't want a person to be a successor trustee, or maybe you want to disinherit a future beneficiary, or maybe a future beneficiary becomes very wealthy and doesn't need to inherit any assets from you. So the benefit of the revocable living trust is it can be amended from time to time because you always want to make sure that it's up to date and it does exactly what you want. One of the common misconceptions that I hear about trusts is that people believe that they don't need a trust because, let's say they have a home and all they need to do is provide in a will that their home goes to their children. Well, that is one way to do it, but a better way to leave the home to the children is to put it into an irrevocable trust that arises on the death of the parents, so that that real estate goes into an irrevocable trust that protects the beneficiaries from future creditor claims. So there's two ways you can leave assets to loved ones. One is outright with no asset protection, or the other way is inside an asset protected trust. The difference being that if somebody comes after the loved one, then the creditor can get the inheritance. I had a man call me a while back. He said he inherited $275,000 from his mother, and she put that money, or well, she died, and so her estate put the money into the man's bank account, but the man had been garnished. A creditor garnished the man's bank account. So as soon as the $275,000 went into the bank account, it went to the creditor, and the man got none of it. Now, what his mother should have done was created a trust and left the $275,000 in a trust. and that way that would have been protected from the man's creditors. So the best way to leave assets to loved ones, regardless of the value, is if you have any significant value at all, you want to leave the assets to your loved ones in an irrevocable asset protected trust. If they get married and divorced, ex-spouse can't touch the inherited assets. Or if they file personal bankruptcy, the bankruptcy court can't touch the inherited assets, because when the assets are in that irrevocable asset protected trust, the person doesn't own the assets. The trust owns the assets, and that's why those assets are protected from creditors, ex-spouses, and bankruptcy courts. We are wills, trusts, and estate planning attorneys. We want to prepare an estate plan with a revocable living trust that's going to protect your most valuable assets. Because if you don't plan now, it's your loved ones that are going to suffer if you die or become mentally incapacitated without a comprehensive estate plan that protects your loved ones. So give us a call. We offer free phone call, Zoom videos, and in-office consultations to answer people's questions about wills, trusts, and estate planning.